It was not built for beauty. It was not raised for tourists, nor for the camera's soaring eye. The Great Wall of China was born of a single, primal emotion: fear. Standing before these stones, the question is inescapable. What compels an empire to trace a line thousands of miles long across the earth? How many lives is one willing to burn merely to keep an enemy at bay? Can a wall truly halt the tide of an invasion? Or does it merely become the scar of a much deeper wound? We call it the Great Wall, but the name is a whisper of the truth. It fails to speak of the hands that built it, of the bodies that never returned home. It cannot convey the frozen nights, the sudden invasions, the signal fires blazing in the dark. It holds no echo of the kings who feared the shadows and the enemies who gathered just beyond the horizon. Before it was a monument, before the photographs and the organized tours, this wall was a frontier, a hard line drawn between two worlds. On one side, the cultivated fields, the cities, the roads, villages where life flowed at a deliberate, measured pace. On the other side, the void. Endless steppes, horsemen as swift and merciless as a winter storm, peoples accustomed to materializing from the dust and vanishing without a trace, leaving only smoke and terror in their wake. For centuries across the north of China, the threat was a constant. Sudden raids, villages burned to the ground, harvests stolen. Emperors would change, dynasties would crumble and rise again. But the terror, the recurring nightmare of a sea of horses and lances appearing on the horizon, that never faded. At first, the answer was not one wall, but many. Smaller, more fragile defenses, barriers of rammed earth, isolated forts, wooden palisades erected in haste and torn down just as fast. Each generation added its own section. Each king built his own defense, certain that he would be the one to finally hold back the tide. None ever truly succeeded. Then came an age when fear was forged into a grand design. A man rose to power with a singular obsession: to unify everything. Rules, roads, weights and measures, and the walls. The emperor, whom history would remember as the first to sit upon the throne of a united China, gazed north and saw only weakness, a border riddled with gaps. He decided those gaps must be sealed forever. From that moment, the wall ceased to be a scattered collection of barriers. It began its transformation into a single, colossal entity. A line that would have to conquer mountains, deserts, rivers, and valleys. No longer disparate segments, but one continuous body of stone, brick, and towers. A great serpent whose birth would demand the sacrifice of millions. The first work crews arrived on the highest mountain ridges. There was nothing. No roads, no shelter, only rock. Snow in the winter and an unforgiving sun in the summer. The orders were absolute, the task impossible. And yet, they began. Stone by stone, life by life, they raised not just a barrier against a feared enemy, but an enduring monument to what an empire is willing to build, and what it is willing to lose. The command is clear. Here, a wall will rise. Here, soldiers will pass. Smoke signals will carry urgent messages across the peaks. Here, where today there is nothing, men will be asked to risk their lives to fill the void. A human river is driven north. Men taken from the countryside, peasants who have never left their village, prisoners, soldiers, and artisans. None know if they will return. Most will not. For those who rule, this is more than a wall. It is a message, a declaration to the world and to their own people that the border of the empire is inviolable, that it can bend, but it will not break. What none of them can imagine is that centuries later, millions will walk upon these stones. They will take photographs and record videos, recounting this story with a casual air, unaware that beneath every footstep lies a name never recorded, a life consumed by the stone. The work site of the Great Wall is born on the crests of mountains, a place that was once only rock and steep inclines. There are no machines, no cranes, no roads. Blocks of stone are dragged by hand, pushed up sheer slopes, and carried in baskets on human shoulders. Lines of men pass the weight from back to back, a living chain against the skyline. He who falls, who is injured, rises and resumes his work. To stop is not an option. It is to be replaced, to be forgotten. By day, the labor is a constant grinding chorus. The ring of hammers on stone, the bark of shouted orders, the heavy tread of men hauling the earth. By night, silence blankets the ridges, broken only by the crackle of fires. Some think of the families they left in the villages to the south. Others keep their eyes fixed on the north, on the darkness where the dreaded horsemen of the steppe may appear at any moment. The official explanation is simple: to build a defense for the empire. But behind this purpose lies another. A wall of this magnitude does not merely keep enemies out, it controls those within. It regulates the passage of people, the flow of goods, the very movement of life. It is a constant, unyielding reminder of the throne's power. If the emperor can bend the mountains to his will, he can surely bend the will of his people. Yet the higher the wall grows, the more its own fragility is revealed. The incursions from the north do not cease simply because it exists. A barrier may be long and high and imposing, but it will never be taller than the fear that conceived it. Horsemen find the gaps. They exploit the less defended sections, corrupting commanders. They use the depths of winter to cross frozen rivers. The wall slows, it hinders, it complicates the life of the invader. But it is no perfect shield. Along its immense length, watchtowers rise at regular intervals. Each is a small, isolated garrison. Inside, soldiers pass months, even years, far from everything. They sleep on hard boards, eat simple rice, and endure the gnawing cold and the crushing solitude. Their duty is to observe, to watch the sky, discerning if the weather will aid or obstruct an attack, to scan the plains, catching the first telltale sign of dust kicked up by distant hooves, and to watch the smoke, reading the signals sent from the next tower in the chain. For the wall is not merely stone, it is a network of communication. At strategic points, braziers and flammable materials lie in wait. A single fire, suddenly lit, signifies a sighting. 2 fires, a greater danger. 3, a grave and imminent threat. In mere minutes, the message can race across tens, even hundreds of kilometers. News of an attack, traveling faster than any horse. A line of light in the darkness connects mountain and valley, allowing the empire to react long before the enemy reaches its cities. As the centuries pass, dynasties change. Some sections of the wall are neglected, and they crumble. Others are reinforced, expanded, rebuilt with superior techniques. Each era adds its layer. New towers, new materials, new paths along the crests. At times, history presents a profound paradox. China finds itself ruled by dynasties descended from the very steppe peoples the wall was built to keep out. The rampart erected to repel them now serves to protect their power. Later, with the rise of new dynasties determined to re-establish control, the wall is reimagined. It is no longer just rammed earth or rough-hewn stone. Baked bricks are used. Drainage systems are engineered to channel the rain. Internal stairways are built to move troops with speed. Emplacements are fortified, ready for firearms and cannon. In some sections, the wall transforms into a fortified corridor, following the profile of the mountains as if it were their own natural extension. From above, it descends and ascends, vanishing and reappearing through hill and mist. At its feet lie the fields, villages, and markets of the empire, and further north, the endless horizon of the steppes. For the people who live in its shadow, the wall is at once protection, hardship, and mystery. It is the line, the boundary beyond which a different world is imagined. A world inhabited by peoples deemed dangerous, yet essential for the very trade and exchange that gives life to the borderlands. A belief, born in the crucible of time, circulates even now, that the Great Wall was built, stone by stone, upon the very bones of its laborers. While not a historical certainty along every mile, the legend captures a profound truth. The perception, held by the Chinese people themselves, of its staggering human cost. For countless souls, this was never a structure of just earth and stone. It was a monument forged from lives. Today, those who walk its ramparts rarely contemplate this foundation of sacrifice. Yet every block is a testament, a silent record of immense effort and harsh commands, of political ambition and shattered destinies. For centuries, this was a frontier defined by two stark realities: toil and war. Then, the world began to see it differently. Explorers, travelers, photographers, filmmakers all helped transform this military barrier into a global legend. And with that legend came a myth, repeated with Susion visible from space to the naked eye. The notion is poetic. It is also untrue. From low Earth orbit, without aid, the wall is a thin, ambiguous thread, lost amidst the grand tapestry of mountains, roads, rivers, and fields. It is not a luminous ribbon stretched across a continent, but a subtle scar on the landscape, profoundly difficult to discern. Its true power is not found in the void above. It is here, on the ground. In some sections, it is besieged by a new kind of army: tourists. Guides with colored flags lead school groups. Couples pause for photographs. Climbers gasp up steep inclines, driven by the simple need to say, "I was here." But far from these restored parts, the wall is surrendering to time. Stones have crumbled. Towers stand agape, their secrets exposed to the wind. And the grass is slowly, inexorably, reclaiming it all. For its builders, this frontier was a world of relentless labor, of brutal winters, and the constant fear of horsemen appearing over the horizon. For us, the question it provokes is far simpler, yet just as profound. How did they do this? The Great Wall did not stop every war. It did not prevent every invasion. But it has outlasted the emperors who commanded its creation, the armies that marched across its spine, and the peoples it was meant to intimidate. To stand before it is to feel the weight of this survival. The wall that snakes over the hills, disappearing into the haze, is more than a fortification. It is the sum of fears and ambitions, of the sacrifices and the sweat of millions of souls whose names are lost to history. It is the enduring signature of humanity, written across the earth, a testament not to what separates us, but to the monumental scale of what we can, for better or for worse, achieve together.